So this is my Smackdown review for today's episode, and overall my rating for the show is that I want to get it out of the way. Is this a good 3.5, 4 out of 5 show? I think this episode was better than the last week, and with the people that were overreacting over like one episode of Smackdown that was 3 hours, I think that was very like childish. Like, you had a great debut 3-hour episode of Smackdown where Tiffany won the title and everything, and then you had a mid episode last week. You had a really good episode this week. We will also talk about the positives and the negatives that this type of structure of SmackDown brings. So, like, we started with the Kevin and we started with the Ray segment where Ray came on SmackDown. It's in San Jose. It's his hometown. He gets a big pop. He's there. He declares for the Royal Rumble, but Kevin Owens interrupts him and says that he respects Ray a lot, that he wants Ray, if he wins the Rumble, to face him for the title. One thing Kevin also mentioned that was really interesting was that I main evented WrestleMania against Stone Cold, and I also main evented to win the tag team championships with my then best friend Sami Zayn. And Kevin said to Ray to face me if you win, but Ray said, "You, Cody is the champion, KO." Then Kevin spazzed out, was saying with a very funny line like, "What's there under that mask? Is there bleach blonde hair, coursing through your veins or anything?" And Ray was like, "Chill, man, chill, chill. If you win against Cody, I will face you for the championship at Mania." And then you had, this way, Chaos passed out, and then the segment ended. And at backstage, a match was set up. Ray versus Kevin will happen on this episode of SmackDown. Cody was in that segment where Cody came out and said that he was getting re-evaluated. This is why he couldn't be there to save Ray. Ray was like, "It's all okay, champ." Then Nick Aldis said that I want you both to sign like a, I don't know what was the thing he called. He wanted to sign that whatever happened after SNME will not happen, which is essentially they're signing an addendum, which is essentially is that the package file driver will not be allowed. Uh, but Cody was like, "Well, have you gotten it signed by Kevin Owens? Like you saw what he did out there. Like, get it signed by Kevin, then I will sign it." And Nick Aldis was like, "Okay, that went well," which I think with the Cody and Kevin was like, this was fine, but it was like bordering on the funny side because he also confronted Kevin. Kevin was like, "Get it signed by Cody," and it got like a little bit, I think, a funny reaction from the crowd, which I didn't like. I want this to be more of a serious feud. It was still fine. I don't have that much problem with it. It is fine. And KO and Ray had a good match. I was a little bit distracted during the match, but what I saw of the reactions from the crowd or either the IWC on social media, it was a really good match, which and also I liked, the finish was a little weak according to me. Like, Kevin just, pushed the ref onto the ropes and he got the win with the power bomb. The one thing that was good was that he got the win with the power bomb. I liked that they got time. Like, it was in the last 1 hour and there were like two matches left, and I was like, are they going to get like 30 minutes? Like, they didn't get 30 minutes there, but they got a good 15 minutes, and they went and had a very good match, and I liked it. I liked that the Papa Powerbomb is back as the finisher. Then KO like shook Ray's hand, but it was a ruse. He stunned him. At the moment, I liked that Cody came out and he just pushed Kevin off. Threw him on the announce table with him also going over the announce table. And at the moment, I really liked the Cody and Kevin brawl. After the segment ended, I was like, maybe it's getting a little bit old, the brawl and people interrupting that. But even then, I was like, this week I got no problem. Like last week I had no problem. But one thing that an account on Twitter also mentioned that they need that one big promo segment, and I think they got it because then Nick Aldis confronted Cody and he was like, see what you did out there. Like, you have to think of the long term picture. Like, you have to make it to the Rumble. And Cody was like, he attacked Ray. That's why I attacked him. And Nick Aldis, was like, there will be, you both will relinquish your titles. And at that moment, I was like, oh, Cody is relinquishing his titles. But it was just to, give it to the officials that they will then hang it over the ring for the ladder match at Mania, and that contract signing will place at Saturday night's main event with Shawn Michaels as the moderator. It is happening in San Antonio, and San Antonio's own Shawn Michaels. A pioneer of ladder matches, that you can say. So, and I think Saturday night's main event needed that because as much as Gunther versus Jey Uso and Braun Breaker versus Sheamus are good matches, they don't really have that momentum in their feuds. Like they have been like off TV for like weeks. The match just got made like last week, just got made this week. Gunther versus Jey could have been a proper feud also, but it is just like a placeholder for Gunther for eventually the Chamber. So I think this needed a major segment, and they got a major segment, which is the Cody and KO SNME contract signing. And Cody and KO feud also needed that one big promo before the Royal Rumble, and I hope they kill it because their feuds has been like, after the Bloodline, after Seth with CM Punk with Drew McIntyre. This has been, one of the better feuds for WWE. Like it kind of, went down at Saturday Night's main event because of the match was not good. But it, since Cody has returned after Saturday Night's main event, it has picked back up a little bit. It has picked back up and it is good right now. And I hope they kill it. Then we had, a match was set between Michin and B-Fab, and B-Fab was looking good. Like, damn, man, she was looking good. And I didn't really like that Piper versus B-Fab was set up. I like Piper's gimmick. Like, her gimmick is very good. Like, they could have given this match 5 minutes. I don't think anything like it that any time would have been wasted if you had like removed like 5 minutes from any like of the two matches that were for the main event and added to this match. Like I don't have any problem with Piper winning. She kind of needs wins. She has been losing a lot. Her gimmick is essentially that she's a heater for Chelsea, but her doing the all the like she's like from the from like the like the like we have those like top tier security guys, everything is clear and everything. She's like that for Chelsea, which I like. She needed that win, but B-Fab with the last match that we saw that she had in the US title tournament, she has a lot of talent. She has something that we can work with, that she can be a star. Like she already has the gift of gab. Like the whole song is like sung by her, and she has always been good on the mic. I just hope that they do not give up on her, because if this match had like the same finish, that Chelsea interferes, Piper still wins, but just give it 5 minutes. Like have B-Fab show her moves, show what she has in her repertoire. And this Chelsea Michin feud is not really, I think, working right now. Because one thing is, even despite what they have done for Michin, like the push that they have given her, she's just not connecting with the crowd. Like people are giving a reaction to Chelsea. Chelsea has done good crowd work, but the matches, the match, the matches I think saying will be a little bit, not good, because she had good matches in the US title tournament. She didn't have a good Saturday night's main event, eventual US title match against Michin. She didn't have a good rematch, and it looks like they already have had the three matches. I get that Chelsea won by distraction, but you lost two times. Michin, you lost two times. Why do you deserve a shot again? And like BFAB just lost. I get that they can now build a feud out of this, have like you could do like a number one contenders match, have Piper versus Michin versus BFAB. Maybe BFAB wins by surprise and you have another opponent for Chelsea. But I think you need more people. You need more people that are not doing anything. Like get a Blair Davenport, maybe get Candice down to that division to go with against Chelsea. You have to push some women that are like the top women down into the US division eventually, because otherwise it's not going to work. You have a 3 hour show, and even in that 3 hour show, your US title, the belt that is supposed to fill up time, that is not even getting 5 minutes. That shows that they actually don't have that much for you right now. So we have to like look into it. Like this could be a big problem, at least on Raw. The whatever we say about the PFC, like they are not over, but at least they have something ready made for Lyra to go for. Like the PFC broke Kairi Sane's arm, so Damage Control can be involved in that PFC feud against Lyra too. Like Lyra had beef with PFC months ago. Like you can say the PFC is not over, but at least they have a storyline for her, a ready-made storyline for Lyra to go into, which can add another group like a Damage Control into that storyline. And you had, Bianca and Naomi uh, versus Naya and Candice. This is the second time they are facing. I don't really have a problem with it, and they actually kind of explained why they are facing them another time. Like it was not because of Naya and Candice requested. Like Bianca and Naomi wanted a match because of what happened in the Tiffany match. When Tiffany interfered and won the championship, like uh, it was also due to Candice and Bianca that Naomi lost. There, it was due to Candice that Naomi couldn't win the number one contenders match, and you had an interesting segment which essentially had Naomi saying that there's no update on Jade, and people pointed it out like what kind of an investigation team they have. Like even in 3 months, there's no update on like a simple parking lot brawl. But Jade had a tweet which had no update, huh, or something like that. So which shows like Naomi is clearly lying to Bianca that there's no update. There's potentially an update about what is happening to Jade. So we may get Jade return maybe at the NXT, the tag team championship match that they're having in Atlanta, because they won this match. It was a perfectly fine match. It got time. It 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 had no mistakes. It was a perfectly fine match. It was good to see like Bianca was Bianca and Naomi was Naomi, and Naomi got the pin. She needed that. She needed another win, and she got that. And also the thing is that they are now going to face Lash and Jakara in Atlanta in 2 weeks. And I think Jade will probably return there, and in that distraction thing, it will cost it will cost Bianca and Naomi the titles, and Lash and Jakara will win. And Triple H kind of likes to do these things, like unexpected things, like people attacking people after shows, like Bianca and Naomi, who are like such stalwarts on like main roster television, losing their titles on like NXT, and then he can like add show the video on Smackdown, like, oh, Jade returned and they lost, and he likes to do these things, like kind of make it unpredictable and all, and they can do it. It could be a fake out also. I think it will probably be better if it's a fake out. Like Jade thinks that it is Naomi, but it is Charlotte. But it eventually it comes out that no, it was not Naomi, it was Charlotte. That Naomi was maybe still not giving an update on Jade and was still a little bit iffy about her, because she found the right opportunity. Like she found a pot of gold. Like her becoming instant tag team champions with Bianca, was like the best thing that would have happened to her career, because she was losing, losing, and losing, and she got like a golden opportunity because she was already friends with Bianca. You can do that with Naomi. I think that could be a good direction to go forward. Then you had a good, passionate promo by Santos Escobar to the Los Garzas backstage. Then you had MCMG versus Los Garzas. It was a good match. It was a good 3.5 out of 5 match. I liked it. I just expected more flips. I do get that they're a heel tag team, but they kind of had more flips in the last week's match, which I expected them to have this week. But it's still fine. They still had a good match, and with MCMG is that they're not doing any extraordinary spots, which kind of works. That they never really have a bad match. They have a good structured match, but you never see anything crazy, which I think is kind of like a two-edged sword with MCMG. But one thing is, they got a calm little pop with the crowd. Like it was a calm little pop. Like it was not like a big pop. It was not like, oh, down pop. It was a calm little pop. Like MCMG got with the crowd, and Pretty Deadly interfere. Their interference didn't work. I was like, who are there out in biker jackets? Like, is it weird? Who is it? Then it was revealed it was Pretty Deadly, and Los Garzas lost the match. And Los Garzas really hit like a good maneuver, which was Angel Garza was holding like one of the MCMG, I think Chris Sabin in the power slam position, and Alex Shelley in the power bomb position, and Humberto like runs and comes from the ropes and like jumps, and from Garza's back towards Garza's back, and jumps, and Garza slams them, and it was good. I liked it. And MCMG won the match. I would have preferred like either Pretty Deadly to like beat up both of them to like set a triple threat tag team match for Saturday night's main event, or like next week, or next to next week's SmackDown for the tag titles. You could have done that. Pretty Deadly would have thought that maybe if we get both people disqualified, maybe we can get a tag team title match. But Nick Aldis be like, no, 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 now it will be triple threat tag match. Or maybe you know attack Los Garzas. That MCMG, they think that MCMG is the bigger problem. Like it is like DIY has kind of advised them to, their main goal is to not let MCMG win. But then you have a Champa and you have a DIY versus Los Garzas, where DIY actually kind of underestimates DIY actually kind of underestimates Los Garzas, and that match can go down like to the wire. That like in the end, it was like you can need like Pretty Deadly interferes, and even after Pretty Deadly interference, even then like Johnny hits a low blow, and then he wins. Like really put over Los Garzas. Like they really was just this close to take the titles of DIY. I think it could have been better that way. I get like Johnny and DIY vs MCMG. If we get that match next week, it can be a great main event. Like if they get like 20 minutes tag title match, can be a really great event. But then what will you do? Like I don't think it is right time for to DIY to lose the titles, because they're having such a good story with them being the champions right now, and with the Pretty Deadly and all the other stuff. What you'll want is probably for the Street Profits to come back if they are not injured. If they are like now better, maybe they can come back, and that causes MCMG to either lose again or like end in a disqualification like it ended a few weeks ago. So I think that's the way. I don't think giving DIY a clean win will be good, or having MCMG lose would be good as well. Having MCMG win also is not the right thing to do right now. So the scenario that I have proposed will be the better thing to do. And then they also had a backstage segment where it was like Tommaso like berated them essentially, was saying that you are nothing, you couldn't do one thing right. But then Johnny was like kind of like the good cop there. He came and he said that because he believes in you and all that. And Pretty Deadly was like, yeah, he believes that pretty sure Pretty Deadly will interfere in the next tag title match. And then a wild Apollo appears suddenly, and he's like, come on, listen, man, and everything. And then Pretty Deadly just goes off, and Johnny Gargano attacks Apollo, like, stay out of our business. What I think, I like that Apollo Crews, like, it's very funny that Apollo comes every week and has like a 3 minutes, like Humble Wrestling mentioned, has like a 3 minutes where he just says his lines. But what is the end game? I think the end game is Apollo going with Vinci to face DIY, because it makes sense. Like, Apollo is involving himself there because it's kind of like his character has been the whole his whole run in WWE, which is like he's a good guy, he's a righteous guy, and he can just go and be like, I need someone to go against DIY. They have been doing everything. They have been doing the tag division wrong. They have been manipulating everyone, and no one cares about this, but I do. And he can go around like trying to recruit people, and he can go to Vinci, and Vinci can be like, you can have that story run for weeks, like Vinci refuses but Apollo tries, Vinci like puts up conditions. You can make a whole story out of this, and at the end it can be like an unlikely friendship where it can be like they both have history, because Apollo pinned Vinci and kind of like ended whatever little push that he could have gotten. Even in storyline you could have that, and then it can be like Vinci says, okay, I'll join you, but because not because of the righteous things, because I want the tag team championships. And it forms like an unlikely friendship, and you have a new tag team in the tag division, and you have a ready-made feud, a placeholder feud essentially for DIY, until like the Street Profits come back and we eventually have that triple threat MCMG versus DIY versus Street Profits tag team championship match. That would be my that would what I would do. Then it was Jimmy Uso versus Carmelo Hayes time. Like, Carmelo really cooked Jimmy on the mic. Like, he was good on the mic today. Like, he essentially said like, like like you are essentially living in the shadow of another brother who is living in the shadow of another brother. Like, Roman Reigns is won the tribal combat. He is out. He is waiting for the Rumble. Jey Uso has a title match against Gunther. You just got laid out last week. Like, what are you doing? Like, he also called him Unk, which was really funny. Then you had Jimmy versus Carmelo. I think one thing that this show had, I think apart from Kevin Owens versus Rey Mysterio to a little extent, and to the full extent Tiffany versus Bailey, every match felt like it went for way longer than it would have if it would have been 2 hours. Does that mean the matches were bad or that I didn't like it? No, the matches were good and I liked it. It's just that if any person, like normal person, is watching on TV, that thought will come into his mind that if it was 2 hours, it would have ended a little bit early. That you need a little bit more, like some story or anything to like kind of justify these matches having longer times. Like, I don't mind matches being long, but it's just like it like plants a thought into your head that if this was not 3 hours, this match won't have gone that long. Like, I believe that if Tiffany versus Bailey happened on a 2 hour show, it maybe would have not gotten long that, but it would have gone less, like 5 minutes less. It would have gone like 5 minutes less. I still think that it would have gotten like almost the same time, maybe 5 minutes less. Maybe Kevin versus Ray would have gone like 7-8 minutes less. But apart from that, every match was good, but it felt like it went long because it was a 3 hour show. Like, Jimmy versus Carmelo was a great match. Like, when they were hitting, like, yeah. Like, apart from like the Piper versus BFAB match, every match got a "This is awesome" chant. Even the Tiffany versus Bailey match, where the crowd was not really into it. Like, I think they were tired. Also, they didn't really know who to boo or cheer. Like, they didn't really want to boo Tiffany, and they didn't really boo Bailey also. And I will talk about that later. But then you had this where where the where the match went long. It was a really good match, but I was like, no way, if it wasn't a 2 hour Smackdown, a Jimmy Uso match would have gotten this much time. But Jimmy Uso really put in work. Like, one thing that I have realized that I get why the IWC aren't bookers. Like, they just look at like one match and they're like, oh, Jimmy Uso is back. You could say that about then Jey Uso also. Like, Jey Uso had like two good Braun Breaker matches also. Like, which singles match has Jey had after that? Like, he had one singles match against Jacob Fatu, which was fine. It was not bad. He had one against Drew, which you could say was boring. But apart from that, how many singles matches has Jey had after the Braun Breaker feud? And out of them, how many matches have been bad? Like, the true match was boring. But apart from them, which match? So people really don't like think before saying stuff. They're like, put Jimmy in position of Jay. Like, just because he had one match, and even if he has a series of matches, Jay is Jay can be boring to mid. Like, he can have truly awful matches only if like one match he had with Jimmy, and you can say the tribal combat against Roman at SummerSlam. Apart from that, he has either been boring as a wrestler or mid, or if he gets like an opponent like a Braun Breaker, he has good matches with them. Like, I get Jay needs to improve, but just looking at someone's wrestling ability also based on like 2 3 matches, especially 2 matches out of those which have been in like either multi-man matches, like a big war games match, or like a tag match with Cody. Like, I don't get it. Like, this is why you guys are not bookers. I get that. But yeah, Jimmy is really showing one thing that okay, that WrestleMania match was something else. Maybe I have not put that much effort into being a singles wrestler that I was before, but now 3 hours, you don't have Jay showing up on SmackDown, you don't have Sammy, but you have Jimmy, and Jimmy is putting in his work. Like, he's over with the crowd. He has had good matches. He had a good match here until the interference, which I was like, why is the Bloodline Love still feuding with Jimmy? Like, it's over. Like, go on to, different people. Like, it doesn't make sense for you to go against Jimmy. Why? Like, Solo lost. It's over. And then, and I would have preferred like Carmelo get a win, man. Like, if Jacob was just standing there and Jimmy gets distracted and Carmelo gets a win, I think it would have done a lot better for Carmelo, because Carmelo needed a win. It's not like it's still like him getting beat up after the match. It still kind of makes sense for his character, but like Jimmy didn't needed that disqualification win. Like, if like Jimmy just lost last week, like he got pinned by Jacob. So I don't think Jimmy also is the guy that guy needs to be protected. Like, he needs to like get the disqualification win. Like, if one thing I could have changed, I would have just had Carmelo win by distraction, and the rest of the things you do the same. Like, have Jacob attack Jimmy after the match, Jacob and Tama attack Jimmy after the match, have Carmelo do the funny thing which is yeah, beat him up and everything, and they attack, with a sick clothesline to Carmelo, which was good. I liked it. One thing is that I also retweeted a tweet which was like, when Triple H finds that people can be funny, like both him and Vince, they just have them do funny things. Like, they see like Carmelo is a funny heel, like kind of jobbing to guys. I don't want Carmelo to be the next Dolph Ziggler. I don't want Carmelo to be like Cameron Grimes or something. Like, they found like he does funny stuff and then he just loses after a while. I don't want that with Carmelo. I hope that doesn't happen. Sometimes you can be too good at a role. That is what costed Dolph Ziggler his whole career. He was too good at selling for people. He was too good at making other people look good, and he lost his career. He lost a push because of that. I don't want that to happen to Carmelo. And then you had Solo come out with his all red and everything, and I like that because originally it was planned for Solo to come back and have a promo, They what they did was first they advertised that Solo is returning, then they cut that advertisement. They still had Solo on the show, which I think they cut the what WrestleVotes reported was that Solo was supposed to have an opening promo segment explaining his side after losing to Roman. I think what they did was much better. Like it made sense storyline wise also. Like Solo comes out in his old tribal chief like character, but you can see he's kind of holding it in. He's kind of like trying to put up a appearance. He's in the ring, he gets overwhelmed by the crowd and he just leaves because he lost. And then he's getting, he's getting punked out by the crowd. Meanwhile, I one thing that got me was the death stare that Jacob gave Jimmy. Like I was like, whoa, what the fuck? Like, and also the stare that Jacob had towards Solo. I don't think he's doing it intentionally because he had the same death stare, but there was something different about that death stare towards Jacob. Like it had a sense that he's heartbroken because he looks up to Solo. Like his leader has now left him alone. The guy that he looks for guidance, the guy that he worships as a god, like he's looking for his guidance, what to do next. Because since they have been gone, they have just been beating up either the bloodline members that are on Smackdown or just beating up random people. They have just been angry. They need guidance from their leader, but at the time, the leader leaves them alone, and he has the same death stare, but he's kind of heartbroken, and I don't think he's doing it intentionally. But I loved that. I loved that in the segment. And then you had Jacob on the mic. I still don't think we have got that Jacob Fatu like that. I'm going to dog walk her as well as Jacob Fatu, but we got like a standard WWE type promo from Jacob, but it's just the way he is. He has that dog in him. He has that sass about him in his promos, and he did that. And he was like, like I never got mine, and he said that you're not gonna boo me. And though there were what chants, but those what chants were not like we are not interested what chants. That what chants were intentional by the crowd, that we are doing the what chants because we know that annoys you. And the way that Jacob says shut the hell up, and he was like, you are acting like I never got mine. You know what we are going to do? We are going to do this every time and all that. You know what, I have not even started. Like it was essentially Jacob like saying that, like you have not seen anything. You think that the past few weeks have been something else. You think that just because, like, alluding essentially that just because what happened to Solo, that we have never gotten the upper hand. So you're not even seen what we can do. Like this is just the starting, and I really like this Jacob and Tama pair, because Tama is uh, crazy. Anyways, he's at the yeah 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 yeah. The thing is, Tama has that ability where he can do the yeah in a like a funny type of mental funny crazy way, and he can also do it in like a scary crazy way. And this was scary crazy. Like he hit that DDT on Jay, and he was like all and everything. He had that menacing look about him. I really liked that. Then you had Braun come out, and you had LA attack, and this was where I was like, yeah, I'm liking this match. I was like, this was the segment where I got hyped up, because all throughout the show I was like, this is a good SmackDown, good. But that was where I was like, I wanted to like get out of my chair, even though I was watching SmackDown while walking, and I was like, yeah, this is what it is. Yeah, like LA attacking Jacob. Like this also puts over like how much LA lost the title. It puts over the US title about how much it means to him going after both Jacob and Tama alone. It also is that Jacob and Tama are finally out of that bloodline, always attacking bloodline and losing, and they are off to other opponents, and I like that with them. Like they can be a tag team, and they can, or just be like a bunch of menaces but go after other people. LA attacks him, but then Jacob and Tama gets him down. Then Braun returns, and I'm like, yeah, this is how you book Braun Strowman. Like you don't need to like they You don't need to put him in world title matches. You don't need to put him in comedy feuds with Carmelo Hayes. This is the direction that you have. You put him against monsters, or you put him against like menaces like the Bloodline, and you have him feud against these. Like he can, win like a tag match or something, and then lose the eventual big match, and it won't matter that much. Like he has his fixed position. That fixed position hurts him, that he can now never really be a big superstar that he was in 2017, 2018. But that fixed position also means that he has a permanent place on the roster, that he can always be in a feud on TV anytime. Like he won't get lost in the shuffle, or he will, if he would, then it will be like for a few months. For a few months. So I like that you had a Jacob versus Braun. Like Braun was doing this and Jacob was doing his little, shimmy up and everything. But Tama dragged him out, and I was like, that is disrespectful, man. I know you don't want me to fight, but I would ever let someone like drag me from the legs out. And they dragged him out, and the crowd was hyped. I was hyped because I was like, yeah, like this is good. Like this is what should be. And it was announced it will be Jacob versus Braun Strowman at Saturday Night's Main Event, and I'm pretty excited. And as like one account mentioned on Twitter, it should be just like spamming of like their main moves. Not saying do like a finisher fest like a Brock Lesnar match, but their main moves like Samoan drop, Braun, power slam, through the barricade, everything. That should be the match that Jacob and Braun has, because anyways it's going to have commercials, so you need to do the big spots pretty quickly. And now because like three matches are announced for like Saturday Night's Main Event, like with a Cody Kevin segment, which I think will probably main event the show. Like Gunther again not getting a main event again. Like he will be the main event match, but not getting the main event segment again. But what I think is probably a women's match will get added next week, and I think it's probably going to be the women's IC title match that will get added, because they just had Chelsea defend the titles. Tiffany just defended the women's title. Rhea will probably defend it at the Rumble. So I think probably I think they will not have five matches because it has a segment. So I think probably what's gonna happen is an IC title women's match will probably get added. Maybe you get Lyra versus Dakota Kai again, a rematch from their final match at Saturday Night's Main Event, and I think that will be the card for Saturday Night's Main Event. And now going forward with the main event, which was Tiffany versus Bailey, I think they are really giving Tiffany that main eventer treatment. Like they saw the reaction that she got on Raw Netflix, and they were like, we have to push her even more to the moon. Like they had her on like the Netflix red carpet and everything. They they had all the top women, in the segment going for Tiffany's title last week. They had like a fatal four-way match. Like this is the visuals. This is what you do when you have to, show a champion as a larger than life character, or like they are the main guys of the show. You do that. So they did that with her. They had another video package for Tiffany today. They had a Tiffany backstage promo also. Then they had Tiffany versus Bailey, where they did all the introductions. And also Tiffany versus Bailey was not like the semi main event. Like I thought like Kevin versus Ray would be the main event. No, it got the main event. Tiffany versus Bailey. They had the introductions. I think the match was fine. It was a grind. It had limb work and all and everything. It was a fine match. It was a good three out of five match for me. The crowd was not that good in it. It had a "This is awesome" chant, but I don't know why they were like pretty trash. This match could have used a lot more flips, a lot more like fast pace action, but that doesn't mean the match was bad. The crowd could have gotten more into it. A solid defense. Roxanne was there, so I think she didn't interfere, and she was also there in the crowd. So that means probably Bailey is going down for like a few weeks there. I think probably Bailey versus Roxanne will happen at Vengeance Day. Either at Vengeance Day, or probably Bailey will face Roxanne at the Atlanta show. But I don't think it will be at the Atlanta show, because they already have like the tag team title women's match. They have Shotzi versus Fallon Henley. So, and they have is the Oba match happening there? I don't think the Oba match is happening in Atlanta, but they have these many matches, I don't think they will have another match there. So it will probably at Vengeance Day. I think that can be like the swan song for Roxanne. Maybe you'll have Roxanne beat Bailey, and then give Roxanne a last shot at Julia, maybe at another NXT episode, and then have Roxanne brought up to the main roster. I think that is the plan. Overall, I think Tiffany getting the clean win over Bailey was the right choice. As I said, I laid out the things that they could have done better, but Tiffany gets the win. I think that was the right decision. And talking about the positives is this show felt a little bit more structured. It had good wrestling. It was structured in a way that it didn't feel like it was just like one random match after another. It felt like, okay, yeah, I get it why this match is happening now, but not earlier or not later in the show. Like it had like a proper structure. This show had a proper structure. The only problem is that Raw 3 hours was truly great, like considering, because it had stories also. And I'm not saying stories means like long segments. That means story progression. Story progression can happen through a brawl. Story progression can happen through a 1 minute backstage promo as well. It can happen through looks. It can happen through like one sentence. That we didn't get much of that. We still got a little bit, but we didn't get much. Like it needs, like, first of all, it needs big storylines aside from the titles. It needs like blood feuds aside from the titles. Like Raw had Drew versus CM Punk. Raw had Seth versus Bronson Reed. Raw had a Bronson versus Braun Strowman. It even had for a little time Wyatt Six versus Chad Gable, which went for weeks. So what SmackDown is like blood feuds. They need they need blood feuds which are not for the titles apart from the main titles, and I think that is what which will balance the wrestling and balance story progression, which will make it into like a truly like must see show. The thing is, it is pro wrestling is the main point of this. It is still a very great show. It is still a good show. Like if you want to like watch it, like it is a good show, but what are the major story beats coming out of it? That doesn't mean that just because there's too much wrestling it's bad. It is professional wrestling. But the thing is, if you want to have like a weekly show, you need to have those stories. You can still have these matches be this long. If they even had like even like a 1 minute backstage promo, or like even a glance or something which like further the story more, it's still fine. I'm not saying to have like 10-minute promos or even 1 minute promos, but there has to be story progression in some form. It can be through a look, it can be through anything, and that adds to the show. That is what I mean. If they have story progression and if they have matches and they combine that, it can work. If they have blood feuds with the title feuds, they combine that, it will be a really great show, and that is what SmackDown needs to improve. For me, and overall, it was a 3.5 or a 4 out of 5 show. And if you like this video, if you like this type of content, like this video, share and subscribe. If you don't, share it with those who do. My Instagram and Twitter links are in the description. Go follow me on those platforms. My UPI link is in the description as well. shabboy@OKICICI. I want to make YouTube a full-time career, so please go and support me on that. Donate any amount that you can. It will help me a lot. So that was it for today. So thank you. Goodbye. Alvida.